Joe Ely was born in Amarillo, Texas in 1947, right in the heart of the wide-open West Texas plains. The landscape was endless, the wind relentless, and the sense of space shaped everything, including Joe's music. Growing up in Lubbock, he was surrounded by a crossroads of sound, country twang from dance halls, rock and roll from the radio. For a young boy with a guitar, it was the perfect storm. Joe soaked up the stories and rhythms around him, blending them into his own style. Life in Lubbock was tough but real, filled with dreamers, drifters, and everyday folks whose lives became the backbone of his songs. He worked odd jobs, even with a circus, learning about people and places firsthand. These experiences grounded his music in authenticity. The vast Texas landscape demanded resilience and independence, lessons that echoed in his lyrics. The loneliness of the plains could be daunting, but it also offered a sense of freedom, a duality that would define his work. Joe's songs often speak of leaving, searching, and longing, but always with a thread tying back to home. The dust of Amarillo and the spirit of Lubbock became the raw materials for his legendary career. His music was as big and open as the land itself. He captured the struggles and hopes of ordinary people because he lived them. The characters in his songs, cowboys, rebels, dreamers, were drawn from real life. Joe Ely's roots in West Texas gave his music a sense of place and purpose. The endless horizon inspired him to look beyond, but the land always called him back. His sound was a reflection of the landscape, tough, honest, and wide open. The lessons of West Texas, independence, resilience, and authenticity, became the foundation of his art. Joe Ely's journey began in the dust and dreams of Amarillo, but his music would travel far beyond those plains. The spirit of his home would always echo in every note he played. From the start, Joe Ely was shaped by the land, the people, and the music of West Texas. Joe Ely's musical education came from the radio, country, rock, blues, and folk drifting across the Texas plains. Hank Williams taught him about heartache and storytelling, while Buddy Holly, a Lubbock legend, showed him how to blend country with rock and roll. Buddy's success proved you could create something new from the sounds of West Texas. Joe realized he didn't have to choose between genres. He could mix them to make something uniquely his own. The blues, with its raw emotion, and folk, with its storytelling, also left their mark. Woody Guthrie's songs about ordinary people inspired Joe to write with purpose and empathy. For Joe, it was all just American music, a soundtrack for real lives. He saw connections where others saw boundaries, weaving together country yodels, rockabilly guitars, and bluesy cries. This fusion became his signature, setting him apart from the start. Joe's songs carried the soul of country, the energy of rock, and the grit of the blues. He wanted his music to say something real, to matter. The radio taught him that a good song needed heart and truth. He absorbed every influence, turning them into a rich musical tapestry. Joe Ely's sound was never about fitting in, it was about standing out. He honored tradition but wasn't afraid to break the rules. This fearless blending of styles would define his career and help shape a new genre. Joe Ely's early influences gave him the tools to build something lasting. He became a bridge between musical worlds, connecting the past to the future. From Hank to Holly, Joe Ely learned to make music that was honest, bold, and unmistakably his. In the 1970s, music was divided, country on one side, rock on the other. Joe Ely didn't fit in either box. He and a few others were crafting a new sound, country storytelling, rock energy, blues soul, and folk conscience. This blend didn't have a name yet, but it resonated with those craving something real. Joe's albums, like his 1977 debut and Honky Tonk Masquerade, broke the mold. Too rock for country radio, too country for rock. His band, powered by Lloyd Mains's pedal steel, could shift from ballad to rocker in a heartbeat. The result was a sound both familiar and brand new, a Texas honky-tonk colliding with a rock arena. Joe Ely wasn't just mixing genres. He was inventing a new musical language. He built a bridge for listeners who felt left out by mainstream music. This movement would become known as Americana, and Joe was one of its founding architects. He honored tradition while pushing boundaries, giving voice to a new generation. Joe Ely's music was gritty, honest, and full of soul. He helped define a new American identity through song. The Americana movement owes much of its spirit to Joe Ely's fearless creativity. The open road runs through Joe Ely's music like a lifeline. Highways, wheels, and restless journeys fill his songs, symbolizing freedom and the search for something more. The road is both escape and home, a place of loneliness and possibility. Joe's lyrics are vivid stories. Gamblers, lovers, drifters, and waitresses populate his world. He gives dignity to ordinary people, making their struggles and hopes universal. Love in his songs is unpredictable, as wild as the road itself, full of passion and heartbreak. His music mirrors real life, messy, complex, and honest. Joe's songs are about the journey, not the destination. They celebrate life's hardships and small victories, always with a glimmer of hope. His observations become poetry set to a driving beat. The highway is both a literal and metaphorical path in his work. Joe Ely created a soundtrack for the endless journey, a collection of songs for the long ride home. His music invites listeners to see themselves in the stories he tells. The road, in Joe Ely's hands, becomes a symbol of the American spirit. Before his solo fame, Joe Ely was part of the Flatlanders, alongside Jimmie Dale Gilmore and Butch Hancock. Formed in Lubbock in the early 1970s, their sound was a unique blend of country, folk, and blues, rooted in West Texas. Their first album went unnoticed, but their friendship endured. Each member pursued a solo path, but they often reunited, sharing songs and stages. Joe brought Butch's songs to wider audiences, and their collaborations became legendary. The Flatlanders' music was ahead of its time, later hailed as pioneering Americana. Decades later, their early recordings found acclaim, and the band reunited to new audiences. Their story is one of perseverance, artistic integrity, and deep musical brotherhood. The Flatlanders' journey is a vital chapter in Joe Ely's story. Together, they embodied the creative spirit of Lubbock, Texas. Their bond shaped the sound and soul of modern Americana. Joe Ely's Texas roots didn't keep his music at home, it took him around the world. In the late 1970s, The Clash invited him to tour England, pairing Texas honky-tonk with British punk. The unlikely combination worked. Audiences responded to Joe's raw honesty and energy. Both Joe and The Clash made music for outsiders, challenging the mainstream. The tour introduced Joe to European fans, where he often played to bigger crowds than in the US. His songs crossed cultural boundaries, speaking a universal language of truth. Collaborating with The Clash blurred genre lines even further. Joe's openness to new sounds became a hallmark of his career. European audiences saw him as an authentic piece of Americana, a storyteller bringing Texas to life. His global success proved that great music knows no borders. Joe Ely became a cultural ambassador, sharing the myths and realities of Texas with the world. Joe Ely was a true outlaw, not for breaking laws, but for breaking industry rules. He valued artistic freedom, aligning with Texas legends like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. Joe fought for control over his music, refusing to compromise for mainstream success. His albums were critically acclaimed, but often too raw for commercial radio. He built his audience on the road, one show at a time, with legendary live performances. Joe's concerts were electric, loud, passionate, and unforgettable. He relied on the connection with his audience, not hit records. His independence inspired other artists to follow their own paths. Joe Ely proved you could have a lasting career without selling out. In an industry obsessed with trends, he was a beacon of authenticity. He followed his own compass, staying true to his roots. Joe Ely's legacy is one of integrity, resilience, and fearless self-expression. He was an outlaw because he was unapologetically himself. Joe Ely's impact on American music is profound. He helped invent Americana by blending country, rock, blues, and folk. His fearless approach opened doors for artists like Steve Earle and Lyle Lovett. Joe's influence echoes in every band that mixes poetic lyrics with rock energy. He proved you could be both a poet and a rocker, raising the bar for live performance. Beyond music, Joe represented integrity, never compromising his vision. Fans trusted him because he meant every word he sang. His authenticity drew people in and made his music endure. Joe Ely became a cultural ambassador, bringing Texas stories to the world. In Europe, he was seen as the embodiment of the American spirit. His title, the Lord of the Highway, was well earned. Joe Ely's influence will be felt for generations. Joe Ely is remembered as a Texas legend and an American original. His legacy isn't about chart-topping hits, but about the depth and honesty of his work. His songs are timeless, capturing love, loss, and the freedom of the open road. Joe's music became the soundtrack to countless lives and journeys. He inspired generations of musicians to stay true to themselves. His spirit lives on in every independent artist, chasing a dream down the highway. Joe Ely's influence is woven into the fabric of Americana and roots rock. Though his journey has ended, his music goes on, echoing through time. Joe Ely was a songwriter, performer, rebel, and poet. The voice of the highway, his songs will guide us for years to come.